Hey, John Morris here, johnmorrisonline.com. Welcome back to another episode of The John Morris Show. So this is the final episode up to this point. Hopefully you've been following along, been taking the actions as we go through them. So you have an urgent problem to solve. You have a way to solve that problem. You now have a video to promote those services. And now today what we're going to talk about is how to get that video in front of the exact people who are most likely to hire you for those freelance services. So I'm going to show you all the little, I call guerrilla marketing tricks and things that I've learned over the years promoting my YouTube videos, my freelance services, my courses, all that sort of stuff. So that's what we're going to get into this episode. So with that said, let's jump into it. All right, so in this fourth installment of my Freelancing 101 series, I'm going to show you how to get qualified traffic to the YouTube video that you created in part 3. And what that means is it's time for a little guerrilla marketing. If you haven't ever heard that phrase, we'll sort of dive into what that means a little bit here. But we're going to get out there in some of these different places out there and actively promote our video. And I'm going to show you some different ways that you can do that. Now, if you get into this and you're like, hey, I really like this, and this is something that I want to try and do more of. I have a full course where I go through this guerrilla promotion strategy in detail, including exactly what to say when you post in these different groups and in these different spaces, and how to consistently sort of stay under that spammer radar. We're not actually doing any sort of spamming or anything like that, but that seems to be a word that people throw around these days. But how to sort of stay under that radar, build goodwill in these groups, and sort of become a respected authority. So how to just methodically build your authority in these groups, and then funnel all of that to your freelance services. So I've sort of cheekily named it a spammer's guide to get more clients. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to johnmorrisonline.com/spammer. All right, so with that said, the first place that we can go and get out there and actually start actively promoting our video to people who are actually likely to hire us for our services is Twitter. So what you do is you go to Twitter and you go to the search tool in the top right, and you enter in your broad match search term. So for all of this that we're going to do here, we're going to use our broad match search term. So if you remember from part 1, I talked about how when you go to Upwork, if you enter something like error establishing a database connection, you're probably not going to find much over there. So you have to use a more broad term like WordPress database error. Well, when we're doing the searches that we're going to do here, we want to do something similar and then just look for in what's listed the specific error that we happen to be solving. And of course, you could set this up so that you could handle all of these errors. You certainly don't have to stick to a very specific one. But again, go to Twitter, enter that search term, and then just simply make sure you click on the latest tab and instead of the top tab, because the top tab will sort of filter it. If you stick to the latest tab, that's going to give you the latest tweets about this particular search term. And then just scroll down and go through here and look for people that are posting about having this actual problem. Now, you're not going to scroll once or twice and find 100 people that are having the problem. This takes a little sort of effort and work, but if you go through this, you're going to find people. And if you do this over on Twitter, one of the first ones, at least as of this recording, that you'll find is from this Shazam cast. And it says, I renamed it to old Jetpack, and that is when the error connecting database showed up. Renamed back to Jetpack, database error remains. So this person's having that exact error, the error connecting to database. And this looks like sort of a back and forth they're having with someone else. But again, that's someone having this particular error that you could then interact with. If we scroll down, have another one. My WordPress website stopped working with this error establishing database connection. There's, of course, people posting the fix here. Let's see, my blog is down, database error, and is looking quite grim. I'm the least technical person I know. I can't even follow instructions. Right? This is what I'm saying. These are the type of people who will hire you. Okay? They're non-technical. She says, I can't even follow instructions. that's the type of person that is likely to hire you because they just want someone else to do it for them. I'm not saying she exactly will, but that's those people exist everywhere. Here's another one. My WordPress web app suddenly goes down. Detailed errors user exceed the max user connections resource. Can you help resetting database connections? Okay, maybe that applies, maybe it doesn't. But if you just keep going, you're going to find more and more people. And then the thing to do is when you find these people, you just simply tweet back to them and you say something like, hey, I don't know if you're still having this particular issue, but I thought this video might help. And you post the link to your video. And that's it. Right? You're not going to sit there and try and cajole them or try and get them to hire you on Twitter or whatever. You're just introducing the video to them. And the thing is they may watch the video and never hire you, but maybe they watch the video and they like the video, or they share the video, or they retweet your tweet or tweet out your video, or something that's going to help you in some way, because we're not only trying to get hired from this video, but we're trying to get this video to rank higher so that it eventually shows up really high on Google and YouTube searches. And that's where we're going to start getting more and more work from this. So any little thing that someone does is going to help. And so it's part of this is getting work, but part of it is also just promoting the video to get it to a place where then it starts bringing us even more work. And the thing about this, as I sort of stressed in part 3, is that if your video actually helps people, then you can sort of send it to them like this without really feel like you're coming across as spamming, because you are posting something that actually walks them through the error and is going to help them. So it sort of frees you up to be unashamed about promoting this video, but at the same time, this video still sells your services. So that's the nice thing here. So that's Twitter. Another site that you'd use is one like Quora. So it's sort of the same deal. And if you go on Quora and you just search WordPress database errors, you will see a number of different ones here. So for example, there's a post here that says, how do I fix WordPress error establishing a database connection after database reset? Another one, if you have a WordPress site and it says error establishing a database connection, how would you fix it? Another one, why do we get error establishing a database connection on WordPress? I'm using Mac OS X 10 El Capitan. If you do the search and scroll down, you're just going to find question after question after question here. Now, with Quora, you can't just go on here and post your video. Quora expects answers, and the things, written answers primarily, and the thing that is going to get your question upvoted and become maybe the top question and have maybe get it sent out to other people and so forth is you writing a good answer to this. So what you do, again, if you go back to part 1, we created our solutions checklist. So we have the solution, we have a checklist. So we take maybe the first, let's say you have 7 checks in your checklist. We'll take the first 3 and put them in your Quora answer. So answer that question on Quora using those first 3 checks, and then just include your video at the bottom of it. And here's an example of one of my questions. So this question is, how do I know if I know enough to become a web developer? And I wrote out a full sort of answer on this, laying it out, but then at the bottom of it, I posted my video here. Okay. And that's sort of an example of how you would do this. Now, some questions get more traction than others. Some answers get more traction than others. It sort of just depends. But if you do this on a consistent basis, eventually you will have something that sort of takes off. And I've had answers that I've written on Quora get sent out to millions of people. Literally, I got a notification that said it was sent out to over 1 million plus people on the Quora Digest, and got a lot of people viewing that answer. And it so happened that answer actually had a product link in it, and I sold a bunch of stuff as a result of it. So I know this works. It's just about, you never know what's going to take off. So being consistent with your posting. The other thing is if you wrote out your video for the video in part 3, when I talked about creating the video, if you wrote out the script as I advised, you already have all this written. So all you have to do is just copy the first 3 points that you make in that blog post or whatever, and post that as an answer here, and then put the video at the bottom of it, and now you've got a video out there. And sometimes these questions will get ranked number 1, number 2 over on Google for really high traffic searches. And so you're able to get a number 1 ranking that has your video in it without actually ranking your video number 1 in Google. You're sort of using Quora as a workaround. And so again, it can be very, very powerful doing that. Next is something like Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow. Again, it's the same process. You just search these sites and you use your search term, your broad match search term, and then you go through and find relevant questions and you answer them. And here you have to post the link to your video a little more inconspicuously. Maybe you link it within your answer, or maybe you put at the end of your answer, you put source and then colon, and you put just the raw link to your YouTube video, something like that. You probably will have to play with that a little bit with these sites because the people there are pretty smart, and that's something that they might figure out. But usually you can find linking to sites and other information, as long as it's helpful. Usually you're going to be okay with that sort of thing. And if not, then just don't use these sites. There's plenty of other ones out there. So, but it's a similar idea. Search for people actually having this problem, write an answer, post your video somewhere, link to your video somewhere along with that. And you'll just you're not going to get 1 million people that come through one answer on Stack Exchange. But if you answer 100 questions, or 50 there, and you answer 50 on Quora, and you go on Twitter and you do a few, 20 of those a day, and you start stacking all of this up, that's how you can get traffic to your video on a consistent basis. Another one is Google Plus communities. Now, yes, I said Google Plus. I'm sure some of you are probably chuckling at that a little bit, but a lot of these communities are actually still fairly active. And so you can find people who are having issues, or you can find places where you can post your video and so forth. And so the first thing to do is find ones relevant to the problem that you're solving. So for example, if you're doing the WordPress error establishing a database connection, you would just search for WordPress groups. You'd find ones that have a lot of members or are still highly active, and you would become a member of those groups. This one here that I'm a member of has 111,000 people that are members of it. So there's still a lot of people that are active members of these communities. And then you just use the search community tool and you enter your search term, and that's going to bring up a list of posts that have that search term in it. Some of those will definitely be people who are, posting the solution, like they wrote a blog post or whatever, sort of like you did, like you're doing. But others will be people actually having that problem and asking the question, and you respond to those people. And the thing is even if the posts on here are a little older, right? These are, and you post your video on there. The person that initially asked the question they may have already solved the problem, but somebody else who comes here looking for that same solution and does that search, there's a chance of them coming across your video, and that's how they find you. So it's not just the people that you're solving this for that are actually answering the question, but it's other people that can find it, because all this stuff is searchable and indexable and all that sort of stuff. So this is also a great place for you to come up with new ideas for new services. You can sort of look through here and see if there's something that people are asking a lot about, a problem that people tend to keep having, that sort of thing. And you can maybe come up with ideas for new services that you could offer. It's sort of the same story with Facebook groups. It's almost identical to Google Plus communities. You find relevant groups, you join them, you sort of promote your videos if and when it's appropriate to someone else's question, or maybe the topic comes up, or maybe the group just is okay with you posting that sort of stuff. Then you can use that. This is one of the places, again, not to plug too much, but the Spammer's Guide to Get Clients, this is one of the places where that really comes in handy, because I show you how to sort of infiltrate these groups in a way where you're not coming across as someone who's there just to sort of spam the group with your content. You actually build goodwill to the point that people sort of want you to post your stuff. They're almost asking you to do it. And then that when you sort of get to that point with a particular group, that's when you can really start seeing some results. So again, that's something to consider there. You can, again, also use this to develop new ideas. This particular group it's called Advanced WordPress. It's over on Facebook. It has 31,000 members. And you can sort of just interact in here. You can get new ideas. You can post your content and so forth. The final one that I'm going to talk about here, and this is the one that I think most people will probably resist the most, but this is Google AdWords. And it's unfortunate that people will probably resist this one the most because it's probably the most effective, because this is where you can meet people right at the moment when they're doing that search for that problem. When the problem is most urgent and most pressing for them, you can be right there showing up with your video and then ultimately your services. So the way to think about this is, imagine whenever someone searches for your exact search term, your video shows up at the top of that search. Now, if you could do that, I think we can agree that video would probably get a lot of views, especially for a search term like error establishing a database connection that gets 22,000 searches per month on Google. If our video was number one listed there, I think, again, we can agree there's probably a good chance that a lot of people are going to click on that video, and we're going to be able to siphon off some work as a result of that. Well, imagine being able to do that without having to spend months getting it organically ranked there. Like, you could just go today and have it ranked there. That's essentially what Google AdWords is in a nutshell. It allows you to buy your way to the top. And oftentimes, the amount you got to spend isn't very much. If you look at my AdWords spends, my average cost per view is 4 cents. So I'm paying 4 cents for someone to view my video. Now, they may view the video and hate it. They may view 2 seconds. I mean, that's on me. But just getting them to see it, to click on it, to actually view it. And the way I run my ads, I don't do the pre-roll ads on YouTube. I do them where people actually have to click on it to view it. And so that makes sure that someone actively did something to want to view one of my videos. So again, you can sort of buy your way to the top there. And I'm paying 4 cents a view. So let's say for a second that you spent $1 a day advertising your video. That'd be about $30 a month. And that would get you 25 views a day, or about 750 views a month. Now, let's say from that, you got one job as a result of this advertising, and it paid you $150. That's even though you spent $30, you're spending money. It's still a profit of $120. So, imagine like how quickly would you start spending more $1 bills if every $1 bill you spent, you got a $5 bill back. That's essentially what we're talking about here. I personally would exchange $1 bills for $5 bills all day. So, and the sort of the more important point about this is if you make a good video, advertising your videos this way will help them to rank organically better, because you're going to get people viewing them. And if you've done a good video, you're going to get likes, you're going to get shares, you're going to get comments, you're going to get watch time. All of the things that YouTube uses to rank videos, you can help sort of jumpstart that by advertising your videos on Google AdWords. And it's not that expensive. I advise most people start out at just $1 a day. Start out at $30 a month advertising your video and see what happens. See if you get any work as a result of that. See how it goes. It's $30. It's not some crazy investment that you have to make. And AdWords lets you budget like that and everything. So you can set all of that stuff up. So again, a lot of people I know will be sort of averse to this, but it's one of the most effective ways that you can get exposure to your video. And if you're turning a profit, then at the end of the day, that's the name of the game. So if we step back from all of this then and we look at this entire strategy, what we have is we have a really urgent problem that people want solved. We have people who are willing to pay money. We did a test of commercial viability, so they're willing to pay money to solve it. We have the solution, right? We've developed the solution. We have a checklist for us to be able to solve it. So we have a business, we have a freelance service, and now we have a way for systematically promoting that service in a way that you don't have to do a ton of selling. You just sort of demonstrate, and you don't feel spammy and that sort of thing. And so in my opinion, this is one of the best ways, one of the easiest ways, one of the ways that gives you the most control to build a freelance business sort of piece by piece, because we've sort of talked about this in the concept of one service, one video, that sort of thing. But you can do this, you can build 5 of these, you can build 10 of these, you can build 20 of these, however many you want. So let's say that you built out 10 of these, and each one of these 10 only brought you 3 clients per month, right? And you charge $200 a project. Well, that's still 30 clients per month, which would be, at $200, would be $6,000 a month or $72,000 a year. That's a pretty damn good salary for most people. And you're running your own business. You're working when you want to work. And because 30 clients a month is basically one project per day on average, and these projects often only take a few hours, you only work in a few hours a day. So it's not just about the money, it's also about the time freedom and that sort of thing. So now again, that's all like sort of like that's what we're pushing towards, right? You got to take some time and build this out and so forth. But the biggest thing about all of this is having something that you can do, knowing what to do, having a strategy and something that you are in control of, where you're not hoping and wishing that Upwork likes you or this, any of that sort of thing. You have direct control over this. And you can just sort of methodically build your business. So again, at the end of the day, don't estimate how lucrative these small $200 and $300 projects can be. It can be a really great way to freelance that is pretty stress-free. And when you set all of this stuff up, can sort of just start working on autopilot for you. You don't have to spend a bunch of time being out there promoting and so forth, because you've kind of got this system in place that just brings you clients on a regular basis. So anyway, that's the name of the game. Hopefully you enjoyed the series, and most importantly, whatever you do, start building this, start taking action on it, and start methodically creating that income for yourself. Even an extra $1,000 a month can be life-changing for a lot of people. It was for me when I first started doing this way back many years ago. So again, get out there, take action, actually do this stuff. That's the only way you're going to get any of these results. All right, that'll do it for this episode. Again, hopefully you got a ton out of this series and enjoyed it and are taking the actions and so forth. If you do want to support what I do here on the channel and get access to all of my courses, including the Spammer's Guide course that I mentioned, plus everything else, all the resources that I've mentioned throughout the series and so forth, then do consider becoming a supporter of the show over on Patreon. You can learn more about that at johnmorrisonline.com/Patreon. I'd really appreciate that. It helps out a ton. And again, you're going to get access to a whole sort of trove of stuff over there. So again, johnmorrisonline.com/Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching.